What's up guys, it's Mystic coming to you guys with yet another YouTube video. Now today we're going to be going over The Flash, Season 2, Episode 23, The Race of His Life. And this is going to be the last episode for this season, so let's get right into it. The episode starts off right where we left off in the last episode. Barry's dad, Henry Allen, just got killed in front of him and he is devastated. And the emotion that Grant Gustin shows is really good. I give him a lot of props for playing the Flash and the role. He does an incredible job. Big props. So he is incredibly angry. He starts chasing down Zoom left and right. Zoom basically wants to feed off of his anger, try to break him, trying to push him over the edge to be able to make a decision that obviously Zoom wants him to make in order for Barry to become more like Zoom, Hunter Zolomon, or become just like him, basically. They're racing around the city, and as that's happening, Zoom creates a time remnant once more. Barry gets fooled and chases the time remnant across the streets of Central City. He is very close to killing him. Obviously he kicks his ass, but he is so close to killing him. But right before he does, or even makes a decision, Zoom, the original Zoom, comes in and kills his own time remnant. And he leaves Barry with the final words of, "You're not ready yet, you're almost ready," so he leaves. At that point, we're at Henry's funeral. We see Joe give a speech, a very emotional speech, just like what happened in Arrow, and I think that this kind of ground these shows a lot and give them a real life perspective. I'm glad that they're not keeping everyone alive. It gives the audience something to relate to, and keeps them interested in the show. So that's a good thing. Everyone is mourning, and Wally comes up to Barry and tells him, "You know what? I didn't know you were the Flash. I want to thank you directly for everything that you've done." That he's very sorry. He shows his condolences to Barry as far as his dad and his dad's death. I wish Wally would have known about Barry's identity as the Flash sooner. I don't see why they had to keep it from him for so long. It didn't really make sense. I mean, Jesse knew. Why couldn't Wally know? Anyways, so that was an interesting part of the episode. Right after that, Barry goes outside, tries to get some fresh air, talks to Iris about the Speed Force and how he's trying to get, past the deaths of his family and his mom, now his dad. And as that's happening, right in the middle of their talk, Zoom comes in, zips by, and obviously Barry chases after him. And he, gives him a proposal, one final proposal. What it is a final race. A race to see who is the fastest man alive. And he tells him, "If you want to stop me, we're going to have to race. I'll give you the time to mourn, and then later on, I'll tell you when and where we are going to race." Obviously, Zoom has a different agenda, and Dr. Wells finds out what it is. They find out that Zoom stole a magnetar device from Mercury Labs in the previous episode. He is going to create a pulsar, a energy pulse generated by the energy that Barry and Zoom are going to create when they're racing. So it's going to feed off of their energy, power the pulsar, and kill the multiverse. That's their theory. The only thing that is missing from that theory is that Zoom's actual plan is to just kill every other Earth out there except Earth 1 and keep it as a single Earth. Barry is determined to stop Zoom. Race him. Not just stop him, race him, kill him, hurt him, take everything from him, make him suffer as much as he suffered. The whole group feels like he just, isn't himself, that he cannot go through with this, he can't race him, that if he races under Zoom's terms, that he is just going to lose. The Team Flash comes to a consensus to lock up Barry, lock him up in one of the cells in Star Labs. So he gets locked up. He is absolutely pissed and angry at this point because he wants to raise Zoom. He wants to stop him. The group comes up with their own plan, and their plan consists of using Caitlin as bait to be able to get close enough to Zoom and be able to trank him, then push him through a portal using Cisco's abilities, as everyone knows. Now, they almost succeed. Caitlin does get close enough. At some point, I thought that she was going to succeed in just convincing him, but she doesn't. He sees through her charade, or doesn't believe her, or just doesn't care about her anymore and tries to kill her. But she uses the hologram technology from one of the previous episodes, so that was cool. A good thing she didn't die, otherwise she would have died there too. Joe was supposed to trank him, however, the gun doesn't work, it locks up on him, gets stuck or whatever, so he has to run and trank him manually. As the portal opens and they push him over because Wells shoots him, Zoom grabs onto Joe as they're being pulled or pushed into the portal, and they both go through. So now they have to save Joe. Everything just goes back to square one again. After they go back to Star Labs, Wally appears and they tell him what's been happening about Barry, about Zoom, about Joe, and he's upset because they made this decision without him knowing, without his opinion, without his insight. So he's mad about that, and he's mad that he doesn't want to lose another parent. He wants to be able to help, so he frees Barry. He doesn't know what else to do, and he knows Barry's the only one that can stop him. The group tries to convince Barry not to race Zoom, but Barry's gonna race him anyways. And at this point, there's no real plan. The only plan is just to race him, beat him, and save Joe. As all this is happening, Joe is locked up in Zoom's lair, and Zoom explains who the man in the iron mask is, and he gives a whole backstory about how he was able to travel through dimensions way before he met Barry, before he went to Earth 1, and that he's been able to travel between them. The serum that he created was designed even before he could travel through all these Earths. As he was traveling through the Earths, he found out that he was dying, and luckily he was able to find, luckily for him, he was able to find another speedster on a different Earth that he ended up kidnapping to see if he could siphon or steal the speed from him. So because he wasn't able to, he decided just to take his persona, take the speedster from Earth 3, as we find out, and use him to impersonate himself as a hero. So he took his identity, Jay Garrick, and he pretended to be the Flash. After that, they finally get to the point where the Magnetar is set up, and they're set up for the race. This is a very important part of the show because obviously just the intensity and the final act, the final action part is very important, and most of it was good except for one thing that I still don't like, and I know they're trying to explain a lot of the things that happened in the season, but I just don't like it. So they start racing, and that is incredible because I like the graphics and the CGI whenever they race, and it's amazing. And what they have to do is race 500 laps around the Magnetar, and Barry has to stop him before the 500 laps, so they race off, and like I said, it is intense. However, as they're racing, as the Magnetar starts powering up, Barry uses a time remnant. He either learns right on the spot, or he probably had a plan beforehand, and so the Magnetar starts powering up. The time remnant goes after the Magnetar, uses his own pulse to try to counter the pulse that the Magnetar is generating, and stops it. However, he ends up sacrificing himself in the process. Now, the original Barry, the original Flash, goes after Zoom and kicks his ass, which I was hoping because, it was about darn time. He's gotten so much faster, he should have been able to put up a fight. However, because he used a time remnant, he actually attracted the time wraiths, which he knew might happen because Zoom's been running from the time wraiths because he's time traveling, time remnants, and all that stuff, and he was hoping he could lure the time wraiths because he used a time remnant. So luckily he was able to do that, and they took Zoom right before or right after he defeated him, or kicked his ass anyways. As they're taking him, his whole design of his suit changes, his physical appearance of Zoom changes as they're taking him, and he looks very similar to the Black Flash from the comics. So that's very interesting. I think they opened it up so that he can return if they want him to. Well, that's cool. As far as that fight goes, I don't like the time remnant thing. I really don't. Not only is it not fully explained, because all they're saying is he just travels slightly back in time so that he's in two places at once. However, it seems to be a very easy way to cheat death. And that's the only reason why I don't like it, because it is so easy to cheat death with that time remnant, and he cheated death because his time remnant died, you know, and that's one part I didn't like. They get back to Star Labs, and what happens? They remove the Iron Mask from Jake Garrick. And one of the biggest reveals of the episode is that it looks just like Barry's dad. Now, I don't know if it's Barry's dad's doppelganger or if it's an ancestor from Earth 3 that's an ancestor from Barry's. We still don't know because his name is different. So who knows what happened in that timeline that he looks like Barry's dad, but he has a different name, so who knows. That upsets Barry. He starts crying because it looks like his dad, so he seems pretty upset about that. As the episode is ending, another big highlight is Jay Garrick suiting up in his original suit, and you know, it's very nostalgic and it is very true to the comics, so that is really cool. I like that. However, the only changes that they're going to make is that he ends up taking Zoom's helmet. He takes it as a trophy just like Zoom took him as a trophy, keeping him locked up. So, you know, they kept it pretty true to the comics as far as that goes. I wish they explained more about that helmet and about the War of the Americas. As soon as they mentioned that in the show, I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? What war happened on Earth 2 that was called, you know, the War of the Americas? I was like, I really want to know about that. But anyways, so that was cool. They decide to get him back to Earth 3, and they can only do this with you know, Professor Wells and Jesse going back to Earth 2 and then helping him from there. So they open up a portal, they take off, they say their goodbyes, and Wells and Jesse leave along with Jay Garrick. I think that's also open for next season for him to come back, probably as you know, as help here and there. Who knows if he's going to be a regular just like this season. We'll see. And the final scene of the show, or of the episode in the season finale, is Barry talks to Iris, and he tells her that he cannot be with her because he's too damaged, he's too hurt, you know, emotionally he is not stable, and that, you know, he doesn't want to be unfair to her. She understands and she is willing to wait for him. And I thought the episode was going to end at that point, but what happens? He starts running and he travels back to when his mom, you know, is first killed, and he stops the Reverse Flash from killing his mom. Now we're looking at a completely different story. We're looking at a completely different story arc. Who knows what is going to happen? Does the Flash from that point in time, the one that takes you know, his younger self away so he doesn't get killed, the first Flash that is there, does he know all of this is going to happen? Did he already live through all this? Did he already live through a possible Flashpoint story arc? The Reverse Flash being killed in season 1? Has he already lived through all this? I mean, it's going to be amazing to find all this out, and it completely interests me. And I don't know if they're going to do Flashpoint, just because it would have to be a very small scaled one, you know, unless they get Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow. But you know, it's hard to keep them involved considering Legends of Tomorrow is in a completely different timeline. I mean, they're going to go off to a completely different time, so who knows? You know, is Arrow going to be involved? And then Supergirl's on a different Earth, so who knows if we can involve her either. Again, it's going to be interesting how they do it. Like I said, I think they might do it, but I think it might be a small scale, few episode story arc, maybe even up to mid-season, but I don't think they're going to do a huge production of it with all the other shows, so we'll see. Anyways, guys, I absolutely love the season finale. I love the season overall. I love the show overall. Both seasons have been very strong. The only thing, like I said, that I didn't like at the end right here was the time remnant. Don't like it. Like I said, it's a pretty easy way to cheat death. Other than that, everything else was pretty solid. Everything else was very solid. Again, guys, leave your thoughts down below, what you thought about the episode. Any comments, feedback are always appreciated. Leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. My name is Mystic, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.